Is SpotOn the best GPS dog collar you can purchase based on interface, performance, and GPS quality? Yes. Look, here at Cozy Crates, we reviewed just about every major GPS dog collar out there, and SpotOn is still the one that we happen to recommend the most. We recently put several GPS dog collars through a rigorous head-to-head field test to see which one worked the best in the real world. And while all of them promised reliable boundary enforcement, not all of them stood up to the claim, especially when it came to accuracy and consistency around hazards and in dense forest areas. Now, SpotOn stood out with flawless performance across every test we could throw at it. It gave clear, reliable signals at all the right points, and it never failed to throw out an alert, a warning, or a correction when needed. And it also allowed us to walk the boundary rather than draw it on a map, which ultimately gave a much more accurate boundary. By contrast, some of the other collars that we tested had inconsistent feedback or skipped critical warning stages entirely. One collar that we tested failed every single test, whether it was issuing feedback late or not at all, or when it started pinging while we were still well within the safe zone. So before you go and read a product page about how, oh, this collar does this or this one does that, just know that accuracy isn't the most important thing. It's really like the 5 most important things all bundled together, and that's just truly where SpotOn it's still the winner. If you want to try it for yourself, head to the description below. You will find a discount code that can help you save a little extra money on the front end. But let's keep talking. We're going to dive into what exactly it is that you're getting when you go with SpotOn. First, let's talk about what comes in the box. The collar is solid right out of the gate. It's not just a flimsy piece of plastic that you feel like is going to break the first time your dog decides to roll around aggressively in some dirt. It's also waterproof to professional standards, so rain, snow, swimming, it's all good. Whatever your dog can get into, this thing will keep on working. And it comes in 3 sizes to fit most dogs over 15 pounds. And the size is crucial here because you need to have the antenna on the back of the dog's neck pointed skyward for the highest degree of accuracy. It also comes with 2 sets of contact points depending on how long your dog's coat length is, plus all the essential charging cables and guides you need to get started. Here is where SpotOn really shines and why we keep recommending it. It doesn't just use a regular GPS, it taps into what's called true location technology. Not to get too nerdy, but the collar can connect to 128 satellites across 4 different navigation systems. While your phone GPS might be accurate to within like 16 feet, the SpotOn collar is accurate to within 3 feet under open sky and 10 feet under dense forest. In our testing, the accuracy difference here was night and day. We set up a boundary along a dense tree line at the edge of our testing area, and while some of the other collars would either miss the correction entirely or issue correction far too late, the SpotOn corrections hit exactly where they needed to every single time. When the dog approached the boundary, they heard an alert tone. If they got closer, they heard a warning tone, exactly where they should every single time. The collar even has a forest mode that helps improve accuracy under dense tree cover conditions, which is just something that other collars just aren't able to handle. Setting up SpotOn is honestly much easier than you might expect. With most other collars, you have to trace the boundary on a little map on your phone, which can sometimes turn into a guessing game, especially when you've got, a little teeny tiny phone screen and big old sausage fingies. Yeah, you don't want to do it. SpotOn actually lets you walk your boundary with the dog's collar in your hand. And it sounds like a small thing, but it actually gives you a much more accurate boundary and saves you a ton of frustration. You can make the fences pretty much any shape or size that you want, and you can also add no-go zones within the boundary. So if you have like a garden or a pool that you want your dog to avoid, you can do that. And you can just pick up and take the collar with you. If you happen to move or if you travel, you can set up a new boundary wherever you are in minutes. It's really not that complicated once you've done it a couple of times. What surprised me most is that it doesn't need cell service to work. Once the boundary is programmed into the collar, the GPS is doing all the work. So whether you're, in dense forest or somewhere remote, the boundaries will still hold up. That's something I didn't really fully appreciate until I was able to test it for myself. SpotOn's training setup is also a lot more straightforward than I expected. Rather than just a bunch of random feedback being blasted at your dog, it's very consistent. When your dog approaches the boundary, there's an alert tone. If they go a little further, there's a warning tone. Then after that, there's vibration. And then only after that is there a static correction. And you can turn that on and off. You don't have to use static correction if you don't want to. Plus, levels of static correction are all fully adjustable in the app based on your dog's temperament. One other thing I liked is that it doesn't punish your dog for re-entering the boundary. Rather than like static correction again, it just plays the alert tone as they cross through. Also, the training materials that they provide are pretty solid. They're developed by real trainers that give you straightforward daily sessions that most dogs seem to pick up on pretty quickly. Battery life isn't bad at all, but it depends on whether you're using real-time tracking. If you're not using real-time tracking, the collar lasts much longer than a day. But if you do, it's definitely less, but it's still decent. Now, charging it only takes about an hour, and the charging base itself is very easy to use. Plus, you get low battery alerts, so you're not left guessing when your collar is about to die. Also, I feel like it's worth noting, people aren't going to keep this collar on their dog 24/7. So if you just remember to take it off your dog when they come inside and throw it on the charging base, you're going to be fine. You do not need a subscription to use the SpotOn collar, which is huge. Many of the other collars, especially the ones with lower upfront costs, typically require you to use a subscription in order to just make fences. But all of these work entirely on their own without a subscription. That being said, they do offer an optional subscription service that could be worth it for you depending on what you want. Now, with that service, you get real-time location updates, you get escape alerts, and you can even trigger a come home message through the collar. The location updates are pretty accurate. They update every like 6 seconds or so. So if you're the type of person who really likes peace of mind of knowing where their dog is, maybe this will be helpful for you. Yeah, the collar is very expensive. There is no sugarcoating that. But if you compare it to something like a buried in the ground invisible fence, the costs end up not looking terrible, especially when you account for no installation fees, no repair fees over time, and no ongoing subscription payments if you decide to not do the optional subscription on top of it. And another thing that they offer that not too many people know about is accident forgiveness. If you do manage to lose the collar on your property, they will do just a one-time full replacement. Support is actually really easy to get a hold of. They have a US-based team that's available all week, and they will actually help connect you with a trainer if you're having trouble getting your dog used to the system. And frankly, that's pretty rare. I actually am really impressed by the SpotOn customer support. The system is not for everyone. You really need to have a decent sized yard. I would say like half an acre or above. You've got to leave a buffer between your fence line and any potential hazards like roads, just in case GPS happens to drift. Don't expect the collar to sub in for a full-blown general training tool. It doesn't have any sort of manual correction button or remote access. It is purely a containment system. GPS dog collars, if you're going to use them, are not something you want to compromise on. Reliability matters, especially near roads and other hazards. The SpotOn was the only collar that consistently delivered accurate feedback without false alarms or missed warnings. The accuracy, the lack of a need for a subscription, and the solid customer support make it a pretty great value. Now, it's not perfect, obviously, but it is the best option that we have found out there. If you want the peace of mind, our recommendation is SpotOn. If you want to use that discount code, head to the description below and click that link. You will get the best price on a collar up front, which, when we're talking about things that are this expensive, are especially helpful. Now, that's all we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you like these videos, please consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll see you in the next one.